Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your host, Kev, and this is another week of the KD Kevin Drake Show. I'm your host, Kev, and this episode is going to be a little crazy. We're going to start out by talking about Super Wild Card Weekend. If you go back last week to the episode we had, I went 5-1 on my playoff predictions, and the only game that I lost was the Tampa Bay and Dallas game, which was very underwhelming. A lot of people were looking at the Bucks to take the Cowboys out. After the game the Cowboys had against the Commanders, losing to a third-string rookie in Sam Howell and everything, we all believed that the Dallas Cowboys would have been a one and done. They would have been out in the wild card. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Which the football world was kind of shocked by. We thought that Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to put up a bigger fight than what they did. Instead, they barely put up a fight at all. Jesus. They didn't do anything until the last 2 minutes of the game. And the interesting thing about that game, and what a lot of people don't understand, is it's like, that was an 8-9 Tampa Bay team. This wasn't like a Philly, San Francisco, Washington Commanders team. This was an 8-9 bottom feeder NFC South team that just made it by the hair of their chin. You got to think about it. If the Carolina Panthers would have won 2 or 3 more games, they would have been in the playoffs, not the Buccaneers. And that's something that we have to realize when it comes down to it. Like, we thought the Buccaneers would put up a better fight, especially with how everything went down in week 1, but it didn't happen. And the Cowboys came in and they showed us that they were better. And congrats to the Cowboys. The thing is that Tony Pollard and Zeke didn't show out until the back half of the second quarter. Both teams' run games weren't doing well at all. And even throughout the game, like, you got to think about it. That score should have been higher, not only for Brett Maher missing PATs, but honestly, with how it was going, the Cowboys should have ran up the score a little bit more. But they didn't. And there's something to say about that, because the Tampa Bay defense held their own pretty much throughout. Now, they were on the field a lot more because their offense was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. So they were winded and stuff like that. So you got to understand. Tony Pollard broke out a big run for a first down towards the back end of the second quarter, and that's when the run game for the Cowboys started to open up. But it only opened up with Tony. It didn't really open up with Zeke. And both teams' defensive lines were stopping the run. Even with that big run, and even with some of the runs that Tony was making throughout the game in the second half, the Tampa Bay defensive line was stuffing the run at the line of scrimmage. The CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Noah Brown still weren't getting open. Like, the first touchdown we saw was from Dalton Schultz in the back of the end zone. It was a tight end, not a receiver. And Dalton Schultz was balling out as well. Like, I think he had the majority of the catches from Dak throughout the night. And that's where we're going to get into divisional round here in a moment. I just want to say, like, you look at that game and you have to understand that this was an 8-9 Tampa Bay team. And Dallas went in there and they showed that they could win. And they finally won. They beat Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it was a good game. It really was. The defense, Trayvon Diggs, he stopped Chris Godwin. He stopped Mike Evans and everything like that. Like, those receivers could not get open. That Micah Parsons was in Tom Brady's face, left, right, and sideways. Leighton Vander Esch was having the game of his life as well. And so that defense and that offense came out to play. And there's a reason why I'm talking the way that I am. There's a reason that I've talked the way that I have about the Cowboys for the past 6 weeks. And it has nothing to do with not liking the Cowboys. The Cowboys have a great roster. They have a lot of young players. They have a lot of superstars in the making. It's just inconsistencies, turnovers that plague them. And when Dak Prescott misses 5 games, but is tied for the league lead in turnovers, it says something about your quarterback. Now, Before I go into the divisional round, let's talk about the other 5 games. Because Super Wild Card Weekend, amazing. So we're going to start out Buffalo and Miami. Now, my prediction was Buffalo wins this game, but I thought they'd win it by a bigger margin. Skylar Thompson and the Miami Dolphins kept that game close all the way till the final minute when they turned it over on 4th down. And there's been a lot of discussion about Josh Allen. Here's the thing, and I think there's a lot of criticism going towards him and how he runs that offense when he's on the field. But in reality, when you don't have a running back that you can really rely on, you tend to take matters into your own hands. And if there's one quarterback outside of Patrick Mahomes that can take an offense to another level and not need a run game, it is Josh Allen. And it kind of goes into my theory about why I've been talking about the Texans and the number 1 pick with CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. And the reason being is because Josh Allen is this big-bodied, like, he'll truck you like no tomorrow guy. Patrick Mahomes isn't that guy. Now, does he take a hit? Oh, yeah, dude. Patrick Mahomes can take a hit. And he's done it on multiple different occasions. But Josh Allen is a very physical runner, and he will not hesitate to run you over. We even saw that he got into a little bit of an entanglement with Dexter Lawrence on the Miami offensive line. He pushed him. He was like, I'm going to come after you. Like, Josh Allen has that dog in him, and he's not going to sit there and be bullied or pushed around just because he's a quarterback. But he has a tendency of trying to thread the needle. His mechanics get a little out of whack when he tries to do a little too much, which is, it's understandable. Like, Josh Allen legitimately has gone the past 3 years under the shadow of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and then last year, the shadow of Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Him and Stephon Diggs have 2 of the biggest chips on their shoulders because Buffalo is always talked about as being a Super Bowl contender, but they can't get past the championship round, or they can't get past the divisional round because of the Chiefs. And it hurts them. And I see Josh, and I'm just like, this man is trying to do his damnedest to take this team to a Super Bowl. And it's amazing to watch. And I think a lot of criticism needs to be thrown out the window. Like, when he's taking the game over, like, I understand the turnovers and everything like that, but he's doing his damnedest. Like, when he launches that ball, he's launching that ball. He's got the biggest arm in the game. And he took care of business. Did he turn it over? Yes. Did he give Miami a chance of coming back? Yes. But in the end, Buffalo still took care of business. And they won 34-31. Now going into the next game, well, game before that. Yeah, the game before that? I'm trying to go up with the timeline and everything, but let's just move into the next game. San Francisco and Seattle. That first half, it's Brock Purdy's first playoff game. It's a different atmosphere and everything like that. He's won 8 straight games. He comes out a little bit. It looks like he got a little bit of nerves and everything, and Seattle's winning at halftime. Then the second half runs around, and Brock Purdy's just like, yeah, no more nerves, and just slang that thing. San Francisco is the team to beat in the NFC. And the only reason I say that is because we still don't know how healthy Jalen Hurts is. And also, they still don't have Lane Johnson, their Hall of Fame right tackle. The Eagles, like, they're playing the Giants in the divisional round, and we'll get to that. And I'll talk to you why I still think the Eagles are moving on. The 49ers dominated in the second half. Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker, fucking Tyler Lockett, that whole offense could not do anything in the second half. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuel, along with Brock Purdy himself, took that game over. And they manhandled the Seahawks in the second half. It was a good game, though. Like, you saw that Geno was trying. You saw the Seahawks wanted to keep it close, but it just didn't happen. Moving on to the Giants and Vikings. Kirk Cousins isn't the answer. It's not that he's a bad quarterback. It's not that he can't run that offense. It's not that he can't perform. He can. And we've seen him perform time and time again. Brian Dable, in his first season as the head coach of the New York Football Giants, he has turned them into a playoff contender with Daniel Jones at the helm. And Daniel Jones played well this year. He really did. And then towards the back half of the year, he started using his legs. He started getting more mobile because we know he can run. We really know he can. And he did that, and they won more games to get them into the playoffs. Saquon stayed healthy all year, and he balled out with a very diminished and bad receiving core. Kenny Golladay didn't get his first touchdown until this past week in the playoff game. Kenny Golladay was a highly touted free agent out of Detroit, and then he hasn't done anything for the Giants. And yet they still made the playoffs. And now they're going on to the divisional round. And everyone's saying, oh, the Vikings defense is bad. No, that defense is not bad at all. That offense isn't bad at all. You got Dalvin Cook, Jay Jettis, Justin Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson, and you're telling me you couldn't beat the Giants? One, it could be on play calling, but two, you have to look at the decision making of your quarterback. And on fourth down, you do a check down pass to your tight end when you see that the defender is all over him and you lose the game. That's not play calling. That's decision making by your quarterback. I think they need to move on from Kirk Cousins. He can still get you to the playoffs. It's either you need another offensive lineman, you need another receiver to complement Jay Jettis, because Adam Thielen is starting to look like a shell of what he used to be, because he used to be the premier wide receiver in that offense, no matter who is at the helm, whether it was Mike Zimmer or Kevin O'Connell. Kirk Cousins, for what it's worth, will always go down as the quarterback that came in and almost won a playoff game when RG3 went down, took the helm for the Washington Redskins at the time, and made them relevant for what it was. Then he went to Minnesota after the Minneapolis Miracle by Case Keenum, and has kept the Vikings relevant and has kept them in playoff contention. The issue behind it, he's not as mobile, or he's not really as athletic. He has an arm to him. The issue is that he hasn't been able to perform in big games, and he hasn't been able to prove himself to be a Super Bowl quarterback. He has proven time and time again that he is mistake prone, and he will throw an interception or he will make a bad decision throughout. And a lot can be said to that. There is so much tape on him now. I think it's time to cut the cord and understand that it is time for Kirk Cousins to not be the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, but it's one of those things where you go up against... I chose the Giants to win. And the reason being is because of Kirk Cousins. It's not even because I thought the Vikings were bad. I think the Vikings can definitely be a Super Bowl team. The issue with it is the fact that I think Kirk Cousins cannot lead you there. So, it is what it is. Now, moving on to Cincinnati, Baltimore. The game was a lot closer than what we thought it was going to be, but you saw the breakdowns with the offensive line for the Bengals, and Joe Burrow was moving around way too much. Joe Mixon couldn't get anything started in the run game. And the defense came through. The defense is what really got that win for the Bengals, especially with that 98-yard fumble run back by Sam Hubbard, which was a crazy, crazy play in general. So Cincinnati wins this game, but now they have to go and face Buffalo. And I think the issue with that is that, it's not even really that much of an issue. They don't have Von Miller, but they still have Ed Oliver as the defensive tackle, but you don't really have that much of a pass rush. But, like I said, we're going to get into that when we get to the divisional round. Joe Burrow kept that team alive. Jamar Chase came alive in the second half. T. Higgins was a constant throughout the game. Tyler Boyd started to become something in the second half. So it's one of those things where it's just like you know that the offensive line is bad, and that's how the Ravens were able to really put it on them, especially with Roquan Smith, who has been a detrimental piece to that defense ever since he was traded to the Ravens by the Bears. I'm missing one. I think I'm missing one. Hold on. Let me think about it. Jaguars, Chargers. Not Kevin O'Connell. Brandon Staley. You have one more year. You didn't get fired after that game, but you have one more year to prove yourself. You have Justin Herbert, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr. That's 8 superstars between the offense and the defense. 8. That's 8. And yet, you're a defensive-minded coach, and your defense didn't come alive until the very, 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 very back end of the season. Your offense has seemed stale, especially when Mike Williams isn't healthy, even though Keenan Allen can definitely hold his own, along with Joshua Palmer, who is becoming a superstar in his own right, so that's going to make 9 next year. The issue behind this is the fact that you, for the past 3 years, you made it to the playoffs out. You lost to the Raiders, didn't make the playoffs. Now you make it to the playoffs again. You go up 27-0, and Asante Samuel Jr. alone has 3 interceptions. You have 4 interceptions in the first half, and yet the final score of that game is 31-30 Jacksonville. I'm not going to say much about this game other than the fact that congratulations, Jacksonville, you won the game. And I chose the Jags to win that game. I didn't expect them to win like that. In all honesty, my whole thought process was the Jaguars would make the playoffs, win the wild card, out in the divisional round. But my God, when you're down 27-0, you start to rethink the pick that you made. But then you say, hallelujah to the fact that you picked the right team to win, unfortunately, somehow. So, I go 5-1. Not too shabby. The divisional round is going to be different. And here we go. Let's talk about it. We're 17 minutes in. Super Wild Card weekend was wild. Buffalo, Cincinnati. What I started saying before was the fact that Buffalo does not have a premier pass rush. They have Ed Oliver on that defensive line, but they do not have Von Miller. When Von Miller went down, the pass rush for that team went down too. And I think that's going to benefit Cincinnati a lot. And there's a reason I say that, because when you watch that game before the Damar Hamlin injury, Cincinnati's winning that game 7-3. 7-3. Now, you both had an extra week, basically. You only played a little bit of the first quarter. You got so much rest. Now you come into this game, there's going to be a lot on the line. Damar Hamlin, that's going to be the biggest part of this because you're doing it for Damar. It's going to be a home game. You're going up against Cincinnati. This is going to be one emotionally high-staked game. Now, my prediction is Cincinnati is going to win this game. The reason being is because since Buffalo doesn't have a premier pass rush, even though you don't have Alex Kappa or Lael Collins, Joe Mixon is going to have a formidable game. Not going to be much. It's still going to struggle, but I feel like he's going to have at least 3 to 4 yards per carry. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are going to have their way. Joe Burrow is going to be able to manipulate the pocket and the defense. And in all reality, if you can't run the ball, then Buffalo is going to be out of sorts. Stephon Diggs is great. But when you have to rely on Cole Beasley to come back out of retirement to be your safety valve, and he can barely do anything, it says something, especially when Miami almost comes back with a third-string rookie in Skylar Thompson, who is not Brock Purdy. And then Dawson Knox is a great tight end, but that's 3 people. One of them came out of retirement. One of them's only in like their second year. Stephon Diggs is the premier wide receiver, and he's going to get double-teamed from time to time. It's going to be a very close game. It's going to be an emotional game. But I believe Cincinnati wins this game, and it's going to be by 3 points. I think it's a 3-point split, in my opinion. Now moving on to Chiefs and Jags. Jacksonville, congratulate yourself on making it to the playoffs and winning the wild card round. And go back to Waffle House because you're not winning this game. And the only reason I say that is because Kansas City Chiefs are healthy. They really are. That defense is stout. The offense is stout. When you lose Tyreek Hill, but you get Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, says a lot, because that means that you just replenished your receiving core, not with speed, but with bodies, because now you get to throw it around. They're going to get open. I'm not going to talk much about this game because even though Jacksonville put up a fight, and they're probably going to try and put up a fight this weekend too, Christian Kirk isn't a true number one, and they don't have a number one right now. Not until, one, they get Calvin Ridley back next year from his suspension, along with possibly getting a receiver from free agency or even drafting someone from the draft. Kansas City wins this game outright. I believe it's going to be at least 14-point win, but that's as far as I'll say about it. But Kansas City and Cincinnati meet in the championship round for the second straight year, in my opinion. Moving over to the NFC, I'm going to start with the Eagles and Giants. And this is what I told someone, one of my customers at work. What I told them was that the Giants are going to do exactly what they did against the Minnesota Vikings. They are going to start out the game with a big lead, but then, unlike the Vikings game in the second half, I believe Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles are going to wake up. We still don't know if Jalen is going to be anywhere between 70 and 90% healthy. He's still not 100%, won't be in this game. But I trust Daniel Jones in that receiving core more so than I do Daniel Jones in the Giants receiving core. Darius Slay is going to be all over Kenny Golladay and any of the receivers that are there. And I really and truly trust the Eagles more so than I do the Giants. The Giants will be back, and I think they're going to upgrade a lot, especially in free agency and the draft, and I can't wait to see what Brian Daboll does. But the Eagles, they're going to be really good, and they're going to have a chip on their shoulder because everyone's coming after the fact that Jalen is hurt. He's getting 2 weeks of rest. It's going to get him to between 70 and 90, which will be good. I'll take a 70-90% Jalen over Daniel just with everything I know right now. I think it's a 7-point win, and it gets solidified in the fourth quarter. Now, moving on to the premier game of the weekend, and I think is going to be the game of the playoffs. And I know that we still have the Super Bowl, but this game right here is Super Bowl caliber. San Francisco 49ers, Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be such a fun game. It really is. It is going to be a back and forth, nail biter, teeth grinder. Both defenses are going to ball out. San Francisco wins this game, and I think they win it outright. And I know a lot of you are going to jump on me because I've talked badly about the Cowboys for the past 7 weeks. Here's my thing. You beat the brakes off of an 8-9 Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Now you have to go to Levi's Stadium and face Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead. That's only 7 that I can name because a lot of the names are slipping past my mind. That's 7. And there's corners and linebackers that I can name. You're gonna tell me that Trayvon Diggs is gonna be able to control Deebo, Brandon, or George Kittle, especially since Jaron Kearse got injured during the Bucs game? We don't know how healthy he's gonna be for it. Understand something. You're gonna deal with a backfield and a lot of different scheme manipulation with the fact of Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel being in the backfield at the same time. Micah Parsons. That Dan Quinn is gonna have Micah Parsons lining up in coverage for at least 65% of that game. The only reason I say that is because, yeah, he's your pass rusher. I'm sorry, he is very good in space, and he is a runner. Put him in coverage to at least take a little bit of the load off of your defense. I would bring in a second rusher, put him in, and have Leighton Vander Esch and Micah Parsons at linebacker, but do spies and zone coverage in the middle to the outside of the field and keep them there. Because you're going to have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk running circles around people. it Dak Prescott and Tony Pollard are going to take a piece of that defense away. It's going to happen. CeeDee Lamb's going to get his. Michael Gallup's going to get his. I trust San Francisco's defense and offense more so than I do Dallas's. Brock Purdy can run. He is a mobile quarterback. He doesn't have the arm strength. But what he doesn't have in arm strength, he makes up with his legs. And he's proven that in the past 9 weeks that he can run it. And then when he throws it, the receiver's open, or he threads it a little too much because of the arm strength not being there, but it still is a completion. This game will not be determined until the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter. It is going to be a nail biter, but I trust the San Francisco 49ers more so than I do the Dallas Cowboys. So it's going to be a San Francisco Philadelphia Eagles championship round. And I know a lot of people are going to get pissed off about it. I understand. My mother is a diehard Cowboys fan. I grew up watching the Cowboys. I did. Because I wasn't so understanding of what the game was, I downed Tony Romo. And then I got older and I was just like, yeah, he makes a few mistakes every now and then. But Tony Romo did everything in his... But Tony Romo was more like Josh Allen before Josh Allen got into the league. Because Tony Romo was doing everything in his power to get the Cowboys back to the top of the mountain. I believed in Tony Romo. I really did. He was mobile, he had an arm, and he commanded that offense like no tomorrow. Tony Romo had that dog in him. DeMarco Murray, Dez Bryant, Miles Austin, Jason Witten, and everyone else that's came through still couldn't get that team to the promised land. In my opinion, I told this to my customer, was that I think that Zeke gets re-signed, but I think they look at him and be like, hey, you're going to be more of a power back role. Tony Pollard is going to get the bulk of the carries next year. I believe that. I think that's going to happen. I believe that you need one more receiver, just one more. The only reason I say that is because like Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb are proven commodities. Noah Brown is still coming into his own. And get a fourth. Get one more receiver that can take the load off Noah and everything like that, and you can manipulate the defenses a little bit more. I like the Cowboys. I believe that the Cowboys can make the Super Bowl. Whether it be with a new head coach, I don't know. I'm not going to write Dak off. The reason I'm not going to write Dak off is because in some games when you watch him, you're just like, damn, he is a superstar. I just believe that I trust the 49ers more so than I do the Cowboys. But that's going to do it for this episode of the KD Kevin Drake Show. I really hope y'all understand where I'm coming from when it comes to these games, especially from the wild card round up to today, to the divisional round that's coming up this weekend. Like I said, Cincinnati beats Buffalo, Kansas City beats Jacksonville, Philadelphia beats New York, and San Francisco beats Dallas. That's just my opinion. That's what I come on here to talk about, and that's what I give my opinion for. As always, everybody, if you would like to support me and everything that I do, go ahead, leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you would like to follow me over on Twitch, go ahead and do that. I am live Monday, Thursday, and Friday. We game, we watch Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. We talk a lot of wrestling. Also, if you would like to be a part of the Discord server that I have, it's a group of like-minded individuals. We're almost to 200 people in the Discord server, and we're always talking. But until next week, everybody, I hope y'all enjoyed the content. I hope y'all understand where I'm coming from, and I hope it helps you making your picks this week. But until next week, everyone, have a wonderful night, and I will catch y'all next Thursday. Peace out.